We're back on Born to Be 464, and you know, I love this show because we're talking about inventions, we're talking about small business, entrepreneurship with Gary R. Bronga. And you know, Gary, when you actually called me up for a reference, that's how we met, and it happened to be with my publicist, and you know, I love him to death, and then I asked you to be on our radio show, and you know, what's amazing is that we both are entrepreneurs, we're both small business people, and it just is actually exciting to wake up in the morning. And I love having, you know, my office close to home or out of your home. And you did everything out of your house, didn't you, or am I wrong?
Well, I started in my home. I eventually grew to the point that we moved into commercial space. But now through technology, I'm back in my home. I really like it.
And you know, you don't have to, well, here we have to get up in snow and rain and sleet, but I don't have to do that anymore, which I love, you know. And it just makes it so much easier. Let's talk a little bit about your book now, because I think your book is really important. You're doing a lot more than just doing inventions. Do you have another invention that I don't know about that's coming out?
I have several that I have in mind, but not at this time. I don't have any coming out.
Right. And you know, one of the things that we were talking about today is that it's a lot easier to start a business today than it was years ago. And why?
I started in 1995, and we went right onto the web. And that's actually 2 years before Yahoo started and 3 years before Google incorporated. Back in those days, it wasn't even easy to sell an item on the web. Today you can go up in just a day. And software, business software was very expensive. Computers were very expensive. Today those items are much more reasonable, and you can go into business for much less. Now there is, on the flip side, there is a lot more competition. There's a lot more businesses, particularly online.
There's so many online that it's unbelievable. But you know, there's some businesses that do much better online than they do in a retail situation. Now let's talk a little bit about when you went into retail. Was it difficult? Now you went into catalogs, but did you go into retail, and when did you do that? Yeah,
originally my product gravitated towards retail stores, selling it wholesale and selling it to catalogs. Eventually, in order to grow, as stores stopped carrying it or went out of business, or one thing led to another, we turned to a retail sale, a direct sale from our website and from direct mail. Some places aren't close to retail stores, and we had to go that way to do it. And also foreign sales, a lot of those are retail.
Now you went to a uniform situation first because everybody has to have a badge, like you said. But you know, there's so many referral organizations. There's so many organizations out there, from Kiwanis to Rotary. Do they buy them too?
Yes, we've sold to many organizations. Anybody that wears an ID badge is a potential customer.
Right, and it makes it so much nicer to be able to. I'd like to see. Can you take off the CLIPEZE and let's see what it looks like?
Sure. It's got a military type clutch on the back, and then we use a plastic holder.
Right.
And put that on. It has,
and that makes it really easy.
It is, and holds very well.
And I think that that's a lot easier than a lot of those. Have you ever done it with magnets before?
We have. There are people that prefer magnets. However, the post is so small that it goes in between the weave of cotton. The only thing we don't recommend is using a silk or leather garment.
Yeah, because it's going to harm those. Right. But you know, what I love about it, that, you know, it makes it nice, simple to be able to put, you know, that name badge on there. And I like the idea that it's attached to something that you represent. Has there been any that have been difficult to do?
There are many shapes we can do. There are some things that are just too intricate that we can't do, but it's rare. We can generally do everything. And like you say, it helps people express themselves. If they belong to a club or an association, people will notice it. It'll give you an opportunity to discuss your organization. Or people like different items. They may like horses, they may like dogs and cats. It gives them a chance to express their interest at the workplace.
I can imagine that you Domain associations would love these, or horse associations would love these.
We sold to many associations.
I can imagine. I love the story that you tell, that when you were first knocking on doors and stuff, people would come to you and you said to them, I don't have children, but I bought all those candy bars, right?
Right. In the very beginning, my first 200 pins that I made, I took them to work, and that's what I told them. I said, my wife and I don't have any children, and we've been buying that band candy as a promotion from yours for 20 years now. So cough up a few dollars, and I strong-armed them to get it out there to be seen.
What was probably the biggest shock that you had as far as an order is concerned?
Well, actually, the biggest shock I ever had in the business was a sales rep in California. Later, I signed up sales reps. Actually, did wardrobe for a TV show, ER. And
really?
One afternoon, she called my wife and told her to make sure I watched that show that night, and didn't really tell us why. So we watched that night, and sure enough, the first person that walked on had a CLIPEZE.
Are you kidding me? Where did they get it? Did they order it?
Well, she did wardrobe, and she set up their outfits.
Oh, wow. So that's pretty cool. That's exciting.
An item that I wrote on a piece of paper and started with $500.
Did she put it on the bottom of the thing? Provided by CLIPEZE.
I don't know if I got credit or not.
Okay. Well, let me ask you a question. When did you decide? Now, you'd been in the business for 18 years. When did you decide to do something different, or would people call you up and say, Gary, help me, help me, help me? What happened?
Yeah, I had some press releases picked up and had some articles in a local paper, and when people see that, they'll call me and say they have an idea. What do I do? So I first wrote the booklet, which is free, 48 great tips.
Right.
Tips to bring a product to market from your home, and that's free on my website, the GaryBronga.com website. And that's the first thing I created.
Right.
And then I met a lady that had written 4 books, and she convinced me to expand that booklet into a whole book.
Well, let me ask you a couple questions about these 48 tips. Let me ask you what the first tip would be.
Well, the first tip is to test, to make sure your product sells. You also need to do a patent search to make sure somebody else doesn't already have your idea, already have a patent on your idea. Then you'd waste a lot of time and money, and it wouldn't be a good idea to duplicate somebody else's work.
The other thing that I would wonder is if you should check out the name of a company that you're thinking about starting, right?
Yeah, to make sure your website is available, you want the .com. So whatever name you're going to give your business, you want to make sure that name .com is available. That's a big help.
Right. So was CLIPEZE hard to get?
No, it was available.
And you thought about it and you spelled it out the same way that you wanted to say
Right.
it?
Originally I had a dash, but the advice I got, if you don't need it, don't use it. So I dropped the dash.
It makes it easier just to be able to actually do it.
Right.
And were you surprised that when you came out with this book, how many did you sell immediately?
Well, I sold those and gave a lot of the booklet away to people that had interest in their product. And it's filled with tips that I had learned through the years, how to get colors for your new product. For example, somebody is going to make several new products and they're not sure what color to make. I found out that you can go to a department store and you can go to the women's section and just look. And you'll see what color jumps out at you, and that's next year's color. They spend millions to test to see what color is going to be the up-and-coming color.
That's so important, and I love the colors on your book. They're so beautiful. They're so vibrant, and really, what stands out, your eye goes to, is the American flag right away. I can see that. Why don't you give your websites out, because we have to take a break.
Okay, it's www.clipeze.com, and the book is GaryBronga.com.
We'll be right back on Born Before 64 with Gary R. Bronga.
For more information on our show, check out our website at www.bornbefore64.com.